Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, the one dedicated to ants, termites and basically my life. In this video we are going to be making an outworld for a termite colony I'm currently keeping. So basically with ants and termites you have your nest and you can basically have an ant world. This is basically where they feed, dump rubbish, basically explore. It's just a nice place attached to your nest for them to kind of do what they want. In this video we are going to be making one from scratch, so it's probably going to be a bit more in-depth and complicated than some of the other videos on YouTube. Just due to the fact that my container isn't already made, I've got to make it myself. So for this video we are using a 25cm diameter acrylic pipe. We have two 25cm acrylic discs, one for the top and one for the bottom of it. I have a 25cm diameter, 3cm wide acrylic collar. This is to actually raise my outworld off the ground due to the fact that my pipe that connects it to the nest will be positioned from the bottom. I do this for two reasons. One is it looks cool, the ants or termites coming in out of the ground. And two, I can put it wherever I like. I'm not restricted to the outside of the container itself. So you're going to need some foam. This can be used as trim due to the fact that this one end is actually flat, the other end was kind of chewed up a bit when it was cut on the machine, and it wasn't cut level, so one side dips a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the foam around the top, which will basically cover that over. You're going to need a drill, you're going to need a Stanley blade and drill bits for your drill. You're going to need an appropriate glue. For this I'm using Gorilla Super Glue. You're going to need a hacksaw and you're going to need a mitre block. This is what I'm going to be using to cut in my angle corners on some of the piping due to the fact that it is coming off the bottom. You're going to need a rubber tubing which is the diameter to suit the ants you're keeping. The termites I'm keeping, the workers are only about 1 to 2 millimeters, 2 to 3 millimeters in size, so the tubing needs to be very small. You're going to need a type of grout. Well, you can use any substrate. I tend to use grout because it sets rock hard. This one is waterproof, so my idea is once I've started decorating this to put a little like pond puddle in there. This is waterproof, so that will hold the water and I'll be able to let the termites drink from it. For decoration, I'm going to be using air plants. Now most people use plastic plants, that's perfectly okay, it depends on what you want to do. I personally use air plants. The reason being is they're alive, they grow and they look pretty when they flower. Also termites need a higher humidity than ants, so in the foraging area you want to make it nice and humid. Air plants do just this. You spray their leaves and they basically grow. And because they've got no roots I can glue them down wherever I want them. And due to the fact my setup is actually a forest sort of woodland setup, I've got a bit of moss here, some natural white and some natural green. I've got some soil. This soil has been in the oven for a few hours just basically to kill any nasties that have been in it, so it's quite dry now. I've got some leaves which I've shredded. I don't use full size leaves just to the fact the size of my setup, the leaves kind of look a bit rubbish. So I've got some chewed leaves which I've put in my blender to chew up and look nice. And I'm using some wood and branches just to give it that woodland feel. Now just to tell you with the words I'm using isn't too thick. The reason I haven't used big pieces is because termites and some species of ants will actually bore into it and live in it. Now I want my termites to stay in their nests so I can keep an eye on them, so I haven't used big pieces. Also it's worth to note that if you're using this for termites, do not glue plants to it, do not glue it in place because the termites will eat it eventually and the plants will drop off and it will just look terrible. So the point is this is going to be used as food and just placed in nice areas, and as it gets eaten I'm going to put more stuff in and just keep on changing it. So the glue I'm using is this acrylic glue. Now this is Mr Sticky's liquid plastic weld. I get this from the supplier I get my acrylic from. I will link his webpage basically in my description box where you can get the glue and the acrylic. Most of this other stuff I've got from garden centres, from my local DIY shop. You should be able to find rubber tubing, air plants at your local garden centre or aquarium centre. And foam you can find at hobbycraft stores, and hacksaw blades and mitre blocks are at your local DIY stores. Most will stock them. So what we're going to do now, we're going to actually glue this base on. Now when gluing, I tend to use a brush. Most acrylic is usually applied with a needle and a syringe. The last time I did that, I squirted it everywhere and ended up with a big nasty smudge on my acrylic. So I'm actually going to use a brush and dip the brush in, which always works for me. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to line these up, make sure it's on the floor because I want to put this section on first. So make sure it is lined up nicely. This is the flat section, I think. Let me just double check this is actually the flat section. Maybe it wasn't. No. Hang on, let me check which is the flat section because. Okay, that's not flat. Right, that's the flat section. So that's the one that needs to go on because this is the flat section. I want it nice and flush. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to take my acrylic and I'm just going to check that that video is still recording because my iPhone's been playing up today. Yep, we're still recording. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly take my brush and the acrylic to get all the dust. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly put it in position. And what I'll see is I can see it seeps into the gap, which I can see clearly. Just go around. Keep on doing this. It goes into the gap. You can actually see the acrylic seeping into the gap and it fills the gap and it sort of goes from bright and shiny clear to a dull kind of colour. As you see it seep in. Trying to press down as well just to try and squeeze the gap tightly. I've got a bit on the bit. It's not so bad if I drop any on the actual base because the base will be covered eventually, but I don't want to get any around the outside just because it will make it look untidy. So I'm just going to carry on doing this until it's all the way around, and it sets really quick as well, I found, which has always been good. You won't be able to see this, but it's just seeping in and slowly the base is sealing. This will also kind of fuse the pieces together, so it kind of will be waterproof, but I'm not going to test that. Okay, so that's basically done. All the sides are got acrylic in. So just put the lid back on that. So we've basically got our base now. There we go. It's kind of fusing itself on. You won't be able to make out, but there's loads of little bubbles where you can see the liquid's gone in. That's quite. I'm not going to bang it too hard because it's still gluing. That's already fusing together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it over. Now on the bottom here there is a plastic sheet. I'm going to try and attempt to pull this sheet off. static. Just check my camera's still recording as well, because it has a habit of stopping. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give this five minutes just to basically harden and set, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Hey guys, so basically I did do a video, but while I was cutting and drilling this, but basically my iPhone decided to delete it as it was filming. So what I've done now is, all I've done is I've basically took the ring, the 3cm wide ring, placed it on the base, marked up where the back of the setup's going to be, so it's here with a pencil, and the tube which is actually coming in, which will basically attach to the bottom, I've marked where I want that, and I've basically used a drill bit in my drill, drilled a hole which basically is the same diameter of the tube that's going to go into it, so it slots in quite nicely. Then all we're going to do now is basically glue this base on. So I'm going to line it back up again. I did make a mark on this disc, on this collar, and a mark on the base. So we're going to line them up again, find out where they are. There we go. Make sure it's kind of equal all the way around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our glue, our acrylic glue, and what we're going to do again is do the same again for what we did . What we did with the base. And this will basically hold it together. I haven't gone all the way around purely for the fact that because there was a bit with the machine cut it and it didn't cut it totally level, there's too much of a big gap here, so I'm actually going to leave that. Once this front section here, this front half glues, it will be able to support the back section, and it's not going to be that heavy once all the stuff's in there, so it should be perfectly fine. So I'm just going to put that brush to one side. So now we've done this, all we need to do is turn it around, so that all the weight's on the bottom. And as you can see, we've already got basically our container. It's all sealed, there's a base in the bottom. We've got our lid, which will be ready to go on the top. Now because this isn't level, what I'm going to do is try and make it as level as possible, and then put foam around the side. That's it. That's it somewhere. That's it. So what I will do, actually while I'm at it, is get a bit of masking tape, glue on, and basically stick the lid, because there's a gap there, stick the lid, basically to hold it on, because then I'm going to want to go around with the foam so it's level. And that's basically kind of level. I'm going to go up a little bit. It's just trial and error. I might have to get some tissue and just slightly raise it a little bit. That's there. Let's see if that is level. Okay, that's level. It's a lot of faffing about with this because it's not made level. So I'm going to try and raise it so that when I put the foam around the side, the foam goes around level and covers up all this gap. Okay, that looks almost level. That's it, that's about as level as I'm going to get it. And then what I'll do then, I'll put a foam strip around now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get a foam strip and just put it around, and that basically will support the lid. Right then guys, what we've done is I've got my foam, I've made sure the lid's secure, put another piece of masking tape on. I've levelled it up a little bit because we've got this unsightly gap and I want the foam to be flush around the lid. So we've lifted the lid up a little bit. Basically the foam will have an even spread then in the height. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure up to the rim to find out how much width foam I need. So for a good centimetre to glue, that would probably be what, 2.5 centimetres maybe? 2 centimetres? Oh. Yeah, let's go with 2 centimetres. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my ruler, I'm going to mark, get my Stanley blade, and I'm going to mark 2 centimetre marks along my foam. I've got my board, chopping board, because I don't want to damage my table. Then I'm going to use this piece of acrylic, just line it up. And what I'm going to do is, once I've done that, I'm going to cut a strip. So what I'm going to do now is put this on, and using my pencil mark right. I'm just going to stick this on here. And using my pencil, right. Make sure it's right. Using my pencil, I'm going to mark underneath the rim of this. This is where my glue line is going to have to end. It would help if it would actually mark. There's a fine line there. Now what I'm going to do now is, using my Gorilla Glue, I'm going to, actually it might be better if no, what I'll do actually, I'll go along the foam. Probably be easy if I go along the foam. So what I'll do is I'll go along the foam using my Gorilla Glue. I've got any in there. Oh, yeah, that's it. And just do a centimetre along the bottom. This stuff is really strong. And what I want to do then, line up this. And I'm trying not to get any on the lid, it's just acting as a rim. It's not actually on the lid, but it's on the sides. Make sure you press it on, because it will stick very quickly. Okay. That's the first one done. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a few more pieces, glue them around in exactly the same way I've just done this one, and then I'll get back to you. Okay guys, so what I've done is I've finished off the trim. I've cut 2 more strips of the foam, basically the same 2 centimetres wide, and glued them on. I've put glue along the seams here, just where they're joined together, just to kind of hold them together. The lid, basically, here's the lid, which basically goes on absolutely perfect. You just basically push it on. The foam actually you might have to push a little bit to get it on, but because the foam's tight and quite spongy, the lid actually goes on, and it's actually a really tight fit, which is perfect. And as you can see, it's perfectly around the rim. Lid's on, container's finished. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to do the entrance tube on the bottom. So, now the thing with this lid is also, let me just add, is because there's no handle, I tend to use a sucker, the type you can get for like the toys on car windows or fish tanks to hold the thermometers. I literally just suck it on and literally just pull the lid off. What you can do if you want to is put a handle or screw a handle on. I don't personally use it, just because I think it looks tidy without. But what I will be doing after is I will be drilling air holes actually into the lid, just 4 air holes, but we can do that later. So what we're going to do now, we're going to flip it over. Actually, we'll leave the lid in place because it will add nice support. We'll flip over. Now what we want to do now is we want to do this tube which connects to the termite nest. So what I do, find the appropriate tube. So there's that one. That one. So what we're going to do, we're going to use our mortar block. Get our saw. And what we're going to do is cut an angle. Now I might have to do this on the carpet because it grips a lot better. But we'll give it a go here for a sec. I'll have to do it, bear with me, I'll do it on the carpet. It always cooks better on the carpet. Just do it down here. Okay, so what I've basically done is I've cut a corner, so as you can see there's a corner here on the tube, and this is basically, I'm going to glue this together and it will basically make a little L, and that's what we're going to use to attach the nest together, attach onto the bottom of this nest. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just basically going to tidy this up. So I'm going to get some sandpaper. basically just quickly go over this. Just smooth it out a little bit. Same with this side. And I'm just going to basically cut the piece off. So I want a piece about 2 centimetres, maybe 1.5 centimetres long. So let me just do that now down here. Now to glue these together, I'm actually going to use some other acrylic glue I've got, because it just is a lot easier to fit them together. I always find it a lot. Well, actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mark where I want the hole. Now I'm going to need a drill bit, which basically is the same size as that hole, which is that. So that'll be alright. So what I'm going to do, mark where I'm having this hole, so let's say so I want this about there. So I have the nest hole about there. That connects with there. Yeah, about there. That's what we'll do. Mark the nest hole. Get the drill bit. Well, no, actually we need to mark it with the heat gun, the heat file. Get the heat file. Change the drill bit. All we need to do is just mark where we're having the hole, which is there. And drill the hole. Same here. Now I want to check now, see if this hole fits. Good. There we go. This is important now. I want to make sure this tube fits through, because when I'm pouring the grout in, I'm going to need to make sure I've got a piece of this tube sticking all the way through and sticking out here, because I don't want the hole to fill up with grout. So it's very important that does that. All I need to do there, just get my Stanley blade. Actually, pliers might work, and just tidy up this hole. A little bit. what we're going to do now is I'm going to get that special acrylic I've got. So basically, the other acrylic I use is Tensol 12. Now you can get this off eBay. eBay's a good place to get it. It comes in a little 50ml bottle or a little 20ml bottle. And all you do is get some tissue because you don't want to get it everywhere. And all you do is gently squeeze the bottle in, turn it upside down, and then slowly squeeze out as much as you need. And then literally squeeze the bottle and tip it upside down again. And then I'm just going to put this connected together. So, it's an L shape. There we go, nice little L shape. And then leave it on the side just there to dry. It will take about 10-15 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wait for that to dry. I can't really do anything at the moment until that's set because I don't want it to fall apart as I glue it in place. And as soon as that's set, we'll move on again, guys. Okay guys, so this tube is now basically glued. What we're going to do now is we're going to do several things. One, we're going to prepare the lid and put some air holes because we need a little bit of air coming into our basically foraging area, Outworld. So what we're going to do, I know this is 25 centimetres wide, so half of 20 is 10, half of 4 is 2, and half of 1 is 0.5. So let's look, so that's 12.5. Okay, that's the middle. Just mark it there. And the other sides, look for 12.5. Okay, there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to line up. And I'm going to have 4 holes and I want them a centimetre apart. So let's have one at 12, one at 13, 40, and one back at 11, 12, 13, 14, 4 holes evenly spaced. That's right. What I'm going to do now is get my drill, get my mitre block, get my drill. Get a nice decent drill bit. I'm only going to put about 2, maybe 3mm diameter holes in the top, so they're not just nice and small. And it's only just to add a little bit of fresh air in. What might actually be best is if I heat up that foil, put that in to mark them up, because that way it gives me a clearer cut. While that file is heating up, what I'm going to do is, now as I said with termites, ants aren't so bad. Some species of ants do suffer, but mainly termites, they can't actually climb up vertical acrylic surfaces. Anything like glass acrylic, they actually find it hard to climb up. Because there's quite a bit of a surface on this L shape, which is basically they're going to have to climb up it to get out into the feeding area. I keep on forgetting what it's called. I know it's called an Outworld, but I keep on forgetting what it's called. Because they need to get into the Outworld and they need to climb up this tube, what I'm going to do is I've got a tiny bit of sandpaper, which I've cut a tiny little strip. I've put some soil and rubbed some soil into it just to give it a more natural feel. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue on the back of it. The glue decides to come out. And what I'm going to do now is glue this basically in, push it in, and glue this in place. And what this will do, this will give the termites or the ants, whatever you're using it for, a grip to climb up. Eventually it'll probably disintegrate, but by then they would have put dirt up there, they would have basically made their own little bridge going up, ladder going up. Hold that in, there. That should hopefully hold in place. Now while I hold this, I'm just going to go check and turn that flame off. Okay. That's why this is gluing, which it's actually already done. That's already glued. I'm going to get my hot file, which I've heated, and where I've put my holes, I'm going to mark it gently without sort of shake a little bit. One there, one there, one there, and one there. That's about right. Now I can take my drill bit. Just put 4 nice clean. Okay. Now once I pull this plastic off, I should have There we go guys, so there's my lid with 4 perfectly, I think they're in the centre, 4 perfect holes for aeration. Just tidy them up quick. And this basically means now when that's sitting on the top, you've got 4 holes, lets the air in, and it just looks nice, it's nice and crisp and clean. So I'll put that to one side for now. Now, let's move on to this. What we want to do now is we just want to make sure to trim this sandpaper. Now this is going on here, so I need to So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my acrylic glue. Just check my camera's still running. Now I've got my piece as well, which is going to attach to the tube which leads to the nest. So what I'm going to do is put a tiny bit of glue. Help if it was open, it's glued itself shut. Needle in there. Set that to there. Set that. Line that up. Line that up to there. It's lined up. And the gaps. Okay. So there we go, guys. basically that's connected, as you can see. So all I need to do now is just leave that in place. Just make sure there's enough pressure on there to keep it in place. So what I want to do, just put something heavy. Put something heavy on top of there, just hold it down so it has a tight fit. Actually, that's quite heavy. And what that will do, that will just hold the tube on and we'll leave it to glue. That's going to take about 5-10 minutes again, and then as soon as that's glued, we'll come back again. I mean, we've done the lid, we've done the exit tube now. All that's kind of left to do is basically turn the setup over and start decorating it. Okay guys, so you basically got to this stage. Your tank, you're now Outworld. Keep on forgetting the name. Your outworld is now complete. You've got your basic base, you've got your side, you've got your lid, and you've even got your exit tube on the bottom. So, and your lid's basically, you've got your lid fits flush. Just put it on. Put it on. Sometimes this foam does pucker up a little bit because it's been sat on its upside down. So there we go. So you've got your foam, your lid, and there you go guys, you've basically got your Outworld. I just want to raise that a little bit because it's coming down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start the bit I like out of all of it, is basically decorating it. So what you've got to do, take your lid off, just put it to one side. I'm going to get some of this grab. Now, because I've got my tube coming out the bottom, I'm going to make sure I don't block it. So I'm going to put this tube in place, and that's going to cover up the hole. Fits in quite tightly. That's why I drilled the hole purposely with this diameter in mind, because then it covers up my hole. I don't have problems then with. Hang on. That's it. I don't have problems with the hole getting blocked up. Me having to drill the grout. So that's in there, so that should work fine. I'm going to open my grout. Oh god. Get a spoon, it says to stir it. Ugh. Now, this was meant to be liquid, more liquid. It's a bit thick actually, but it should do for what I need. A bit more liquid, I might mix it up. It's actually quite gooey. I don't like gooey grout. That's what I want to do is stop putting it in. Now, your grout should be more liquid than this, but this for some reason is quite stodgy, but I can work with it. Just try not to get any on the sides. Actually smells awful. Don't like the smell of it. Oh, got some on the table. to all the corners. Make sure the tube stays in. Part where you smooth out what you want, so you can get it out. Right, that's a bit more level. Now what I can do now is I can mould it where I want it now. So what's around that tube. And basically all you're doing is you're just making like you want now. Tube. That's the entrance, so I want at the front here I want a little pond. Spoon. Pond. So basically all you do now, guys, is just creating what you want. Just designing pools and hills, rocks, whatever you want to create. Use your finger. Probably easy that way. So what I'm going to do, guys, because I know my camera's going to run out in a minute because it doesn't film for very long, which is why I have to do this in instalments. I'm going to carry on moulding this, and as soon as I finish moulding it, I will show you what I've done. Okay guys, so now I've got my grout in. It's not looking the best, I'm not quite that happy with it, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put the soil in. And then start adding the plants. I'm sure it will look much better as I go along. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start adding the soil in, and sprinkling the soil over the top, and this will give it its basically its forest theme. Use something a lot easier, a spoon. What you want to do is just sprinkle the soil over the top. Tube entrance. I'll just sprinkle some into the wet I want the pond to be. So I'm going to press that down again in a minute. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is while that sprinkles, I'm going to get a spoon, my finger, actually use my finger, and I'm going to slowly press down into the exactly where I want that dip, that hole. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly get my plants. Now I want one plant. I'm going to take this round to see where the front's going to be. So it's going to be there. So I want one plant here. What we got here. Maybe one of these in front. Then ponds, we want one of these, the ponds. The ponds in a bit. And finally these, which will go, okay. Looking okay. A bit more pressing down that pond to look from there. Puddle. And hold water. we go. Sometimes nice. Okay, and then all we need now is to add some leaves. So what I'm going to do now is, because my video is coming to an end, I'm going to quickly stop it and basically in the next section we'll add the leaves and the logs and basically leave it to set. Okay guys, so I've put the soil in, pressed it all down. All I'm going to do now is add the leaves. So what you want to do is just add them where you want them. Add them around the edge. Just give it a forest floor feel around the plants. Just brush them. Get a little brush for this thing on, actually. Let's go brush. A brush for the job. Push the leaves around. We're just aiming to give it like a forest floor feel. Perfectionist, so I tend to carry on going over and messing until I get it absolutely perfect. Make a little pond, a little puddle. Around the nest, because I want the nest to be very visible, so I'm going to brush the leaves away, blow them away from the nest, and keep the nest open. Dirt on the side. Okay, and then all we're going to do then is put the logs in. Like I said, these will get eaten eventually, so just a case of placing them in. Away from the pond. Then all you need to do then is just give it a quick spray. If you've got air plants, you won't need to spray it if you've got plastic plants, but I'm going to give it a quick spray because I've actually got air plants in here. and I want the leaves to stick down as well. So I'm just going to give the air plants a spray just to give them something to grow. So they settle in, spray the wood as well. And there you go, guys. There is a forest, woodland, what do you call it? Outworld. It's like Outworld, so I don't see why I just don't remember it, but I forget the name. There is a forest Outworld, which for my termites. Once this is set, probably take about 24 hours. I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I will remove that tube, get my termites up, and then they can come out through the nest hole and explore and enjoy the setup. And of course you've got the lid here, which won't go on at the moment because I've got that tube overlapping, but the lid goes on and it all looks good. So thank you very much for watching my video, guys. Sorry it's been a bit all over the place, but like I say, my iPhone's playing up. I thought I need to get a proper YouTube video camera so I can do my videos, but I will do one of the days. I just haven't got around to doing it yet. But hope you like the video. Like, subscribe if you like, comment, totally up to you. Hope you're having a good day or evening wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak to you later. Take care guys, bye.